Today's topic is one that is important to everyone, and it's called Masterminding a Healthier You and Maintaining Your Remarkable Body. Wellness and what it can mean to you. Wellness is defined as a pretty long definition, but I will break it down over the course of the next few minutes. Wellness is a total of an individual's continuing physical, emotional, mental, social, and spiritual ability to cope with his or her environment, not just the absence of a disease process. This is achievable because your body is a miracle. It can self-regenerate, improving your metabolism, which relates to the production of energy to do work from the food that you eat. Scientific studies have shown that the human body makes at least 300 billion, that's B with a billion, new cells every day and eliminates that many old or damaged cells. With the right raw materials, using the right signals, and requiring the right energy, your new cells can be stronger than the ones that they replace. So in the course of the next 7 or so years, you will make enough new cells to renew your entire body. That is exciting to me. If you look at a chart that depicts the average lifespan and the normal aging process, you will see on the up axis or the y-axis your development from infancy through prime to peak. And if you look on the x-axis, which depicts time, you'll see that the body peaks at around age 30. There is a steady decline to approximately age 45, when there's a steep decline down to 78.8, at which point you're off the planet. For females, it is approximately 81.2 years. At least that was the life expectancy in the year 2012. Human genome studies reveal that our body's DNA, the material of which all our cells are made, is capable of surviving for over 110 years. Historically, we read of Moses, who lived to 120, and Methuselah, who reportedly lived to 969. Even if we can't get our heads around those numbers, like we know there are people living today who have achieved the age of about 117 years. So we have no physiologic reason why our lifespans have been limited to the 70 plus or minus years. But in all the consideration of length of life, it is the quality of life that is more important. Your DNA is like a code of behavior for your body, an owner's manual, if you will. Throughout this series of talks, I will come back to that analogy because most people can relate to preventive maintenance of their automobiles much better than maintaining their remarkable bodies at peak performance. In other words, you take your car in faithfully every 3 months or every 3,000 miles to get the oil changed. You really need to be maintaining your body on similar schedules. When we're young, our bodies are very strong and heal very quickly. Just think of a child with a broken leg. 6 weeks later, the child is up and running. Imagine that leg break in someone's grandmother that you know, and the outcome is very different. As we get older, our recovery time is slowed considerably. If we picture our body's equilibrium as a seesaw with forces that are moving in the direction of damage and degeneration, which is a down, counterbalanced by our repair capacity, which is the up movement, it can be noted that when we're young, the repair capability is at its peak. As we age, we encounter several different forces, which we will examine separately, such as oxidative stress, free radical damage, infection, and inflammation, all effectively accelerating degeneration and wear and tear, till these forces overwhelm our ability for repair, and then ultimately we die when we've accumulated enough inflammation. So what we need to do to tip the seesaw in our favor of repair is what we'll consider next. So if we consider the whole process a little more carefully, in so doing, we will recognize what is normal from what is abnormal and can start to take corrective action based on the type of damage likely to be caused as we age. So the premise here is that aging becomes the problem. And this is a different consideration in that we are geared towards thinking of our body as having diseases, whereas the problem is really the aging process and our inability to fight off various conditions that occur. Our activities should be geared towards improving the way in which our bodies experience the aging process, therefore. So if we're able to improve repair and cut down on damage, our bodies are able to fend off many of the symptoms of aging, which medical intervention tends to treat as disease processes. Elevated cholesterol is one good example. This is not a disease, even though we name it hypercholesterolemia, and baffle our patients with the sound of it so that they're quite happy to accept when we prescribe some statins or other medication without even trying to find out the root cause or attempting to change their lifestyle, their diet or activity levels. We know that high cholesterol is not a statin deficiency, nor is hyperacidity, in which the stomach acid becomes bothersome, always an opportunity to pop the purple pill. These are symptoms, and too often busy doctors find it more convenient to attack symptoms with the medications than to take the time and effort to find out the underlying reason and remedy it. Again, looking at what goes into the body by way of the intestinal tract or the skin, and what we eliminate or how much activity we do. In short, managing our metabolism is more often the method that brings the best results. So let us discuss the factors that lead to impaired metabolism. Oxidative stress, free radicals, and inflammation. Like an apple turns brown when it is exposed to air, our cells can quote-unquote rust when we breathe. And due to the oxidation that is taking place, we breathe in oxygen, and not all the molecules are used up, therefore leaving some unstable molecules which we call free radicals. And a good way of looking at this is the example of, say, coming to your high school prom, where you come to the dance by yourself and everybody else has a partner. So you grab somebody else's partner, leaving them without a partner, they grab someone else's, and so it goes. After a while, there's going to be mayhem there, and the same thing happens in your cells. So over time, oxidative stress can leave our cells unable to function and divide properly. The damaged tissue, the aberrancy in the cells, can be eliminated during the course of daily cell renewal, but there are other conditions that can occur. For example, we think about cancer, which is merely an exaggerated process of cell renewal and an abnormal process of cell renewal. Some chronic diseases that you might not associated with this process are hardening of the arteries, which is consequences of heart attack and stroke. It's the same disease, whether it's in your heart or in your head. It's called atherosclerosis or arteriosclerosis. Arthritis is another one, cancer, stress. These are all able to be managed to some extent by adjusting our metabolism. For example, high blood pressure. This causes production of cortisol, which is a hormone in the body which increases inflammation and further induces free radicals. It becomes a vicious cycle of wear and tear. So if you're exposed to ionizing radiation, this is the sort of thing that comes from the sun or X-rays or other things like radon in your homes. You hear about looking for radon in the house. Using hair dryers, cell phone activity, even being in airplanes, some things like electric blankets, water beds with heaters. All of these cause oxidative stress. Another risk factor is exposure to mold and other fungal toxins, which can be in bathrooms that are moist, closed storage rooms and basements where moisture collects, and the gut fungi that are inside your body. Toxins from these fungi that increase oxidative stress. The next element that can cause problems in your body is too much alcohol. 1 or 2 drinks of alcohol, 1 or 2 ounces of alcohol a day does not hurt really. And in fact, some people say this may be beneficial rather than people who are teetotalers. But too much alcohol can increase your levels of inflammatory molecules, and these are linked to stress. Tobacco. This is a whole topic in itself, and I'll just touch on it here because it's an inhalant and it's noxious, and it contains many toxic chemicals that lead to more oxidative stress on your cells. Chronic infections, dental infections, gum disease. Did you realize that dental disease can cause heart disease or can be linked to heart disease? Yes, you have to keep your teeth flossing and brushing very well to avoid getting gingivitis, which is what is called gum disease. Things like pesticides, if you're exposed to mercury, this can cause liver problems, and other infections like hepatitis. So what do you do about free radical damage? Some of the exercises that you can do without even getting any medication are breathe deeply and slowly. Take antioxidants. These are the brightly colored fruit and vegetables that you can take, red peppers, yellow peppers, cabbages, mangoes. I love mangoes. Ginger. turmeric, and there are other things like green tea, ginkgo, milk thistle. Alpha lipoic acid is one of the ingredients that is actually very necessary for the cell for renewal. And N-acetylcysteine. These are amino acids that are very functional in the cell and necessary for proper regeneration. One of the things that you may find that is very inflammatory is eating a lot of sugar. Please try and eliminate as much sugar from your diet as you can. Fine sugars mainly, white sugar, things that will... There are foods that we call very glycemic, which means they turn into sugar very readily when you eat them. Things like white bread, white flour, and so on, you know. These cells have to process more food to convert energy, resulting in burning fuel from food, not fat. When our cells are functional, they are trying to use the fat. We make the fat as storage. Our bodies don't store energy, they store fat. The fat is turned into energy when we need it. But if we're eating a lot of sweets, then we're using the sugar to form the energy rather than the fat. And this leads to the byproducts that produce inflammation. When you exercise too much or too little, this can also cause problems with your cells. It causes the cells literally to tear. Sometimes your muscles can tear. You don't want to do more than 60 minutes a day, but at least 30 minutes 5 times a week is recommended. If you don't keep up with these kinds of activities, you start noticing little wrinkles here and there. And wrinkles are a form of oxidative stress on your skin. But you know, some processes in your body are stimulated by these free radicals, so they're not altogether bad all the time. Inflammation can produce healing. In other words, if you cut yourself, there are some inflammatory cells that come to the site where the cut is, and they produce a scar which joins the two edges together, and that's the repair process that results. The immune cells are used to defend the body from pathogens. I think that we will stop there for today. So this is Dr. Lewin closing out for today, and I hope you will join me again when we next pick up the topic of your amazing body and masterminding your metabolism.